The moment I stepped through the cathedral doors in my stained waitress uniform, I knew there was no going back. 200 guests turned to stare. Designer gowns that probably cost more than my annual salary. $1,000 suits tailored to perfection. Jewelry that could fund small countries. The kind of wealth that could buy silence, erase problems, make people disappear without a trace. And there I was. Hair still smelling like the diner's fryer, grease stains on my apron that I'd forgotten to remove, hands shaking so badly I had to clench them into fists, heart hammering against my ribs like it was trying to escape my chest and save itself from this disaster. At the altar, bathed in the multicolored light filtering through stained glass, Colton Ryder stood frozen in his tailored tuxedo, perfect, controlled, powerful. His gunmetal grey eyes found mine across the sea of shocked faces, and I watched every carefully constructed wall he'd built crumble in an instant. Those eyes I'd memorized during 3 months of late-night conversations in an empty diner. Those eyes that had promised me things that apparently meant nothing when faced with duty and obligation. Behind him stood his bride, Victoria something or other with a last name that carried weight in their world. Perfect blonde hair arranged in an elaborate updo. Designer gown that probably required a team of people to get her into. Face like a porcelain doll. Beautiful. Cold. Untouchable. Everything I wasn't and could never be. And in that moment, with the organ music dying in confusion and whispers rising like a tide of poison, with every instinct screaming at me to run, I did the one thing everyone said I shouldn't do. I told the truth. 12 hours earlier, I'd been wiping down tables at the Dusty Rose Diner, trying not to think about the wedding that would ruin my life. The late shift was usually quiet. Just me, Rosa, and whatever truckers or insomniacs wandered in looking for coffee and a sympathetic ear. I liked it that way. The silence, the routine, the predictability of knowing exactly what each hour would bring. Nothing about my life had been predictable since Colton Ryder walked through our doors 3 months ago. "You okay, Sierra?" Rosa asked for the 3rd time that shift. My manager had known me for 5 years, since I'd started working here to pay for community college classes I could barely afford. She could read me better than I could read myself. "You've been quieter than usual all week, and that's saying something for you." "Fine." I forced a smile that probably looked as fake as it felt. "Just tired." Tired didn't begin to cover it. Exhausted, heartbroken. Furious at myself for being stupid enough to fall for a man who was always going to choose duty over desire. For believing that somehow, against all logic and reason, love would be enough. I'd learned that lesson the hard way. Love was never enough in his world. The bell over the door chimed. I didn't look up, just kept scrubbing at a coffee stain that had probably been there since before I was born, taking out my frustration on the innocent Formica. "We're closed," Rosa called out, glancing at the clock that read 11:17 p.m. "I know." That voice, deep, controlled, the voice that had whispered things in the darkness that I'd replay in my mind for the rest of my life, whether I wanted to or not. I looked up to find Colton Ryder standing in my diner at 11 p.m. on the night before his wedding, still in his suit from whatever business he'd been conducting. Business that probably involved violence and money and things I'd tried very hard not to think about because thinking about them meant acknowledging what he really was. Not the man who made me laugh, not the person who'd shared his fears and dreams over bad coffee and day-old pie. But a crime boss who ran an empire built on blood and fear. "What are you doing here?" My voice came out steadier than my hands, which had started trembling the moment I heard his voice. "I need to talk to you." We said everything that needed saying 3 days ago, when he'd told me the engagement was official, when he'd explained why he had to go through with it, When I told him I understood, even though understanding didn't make it hurt less. Sierra, you should go. You have a big day tomorrow. Wouldn't want the groom showing up with dark circles and regrets written all over his face. He didn't move, just stood there in the doorway looking at me like I was a problem he couldn't solve. Like I was the one complication in his perfectly planned, carefully orchestrated life. The variable that didn't fit into his equations. Rosa looked between us, reading the room with the skill of someone who'd worked the late shift for 30 years and seen every possible human drama play out in these vinyl booths. I'm going to count the register in the back. Take your time, all the time you need. She disappeared through the swinging door, leaving us alone in the fluorescent lighting and the smell of coffee and yesterday's apple pie. You look tired, Colton said, finally moving closer. Funny. I was just thinking the same thing about myself. I went back to cleaning even though the table was spotless and had been for the last 5 minutes. Busy work. Something to do with my hands that wasn't reaching for him. What do you want, Colton? Why are you here? To explain. You explained 3 days ago. Your family needs this alliance. The marriage secures territory and prevents a war between your organization and the Castellanos. She's the right choice politically. I get it. I understood it then. I understand it now. Do you? I threw down my rag, finally looking at him directly, really looking, taking in the shadows under his eyes, the tension in his jaw, the way he was holding himself like every muscle hurt. What's not to get? You're a crime boss. She's a crime boss's daughter. It's a merger wrapped in white lace and champagne. Very practical, very strategic. Emotions don't factor into decisions like that in your world. It's not about what I want, he said quietly. And there was something in his voice. Pain, maybe, or regret, that made my chest ache. Then what is it about? Survival, peace, keeping people alive. The Castellanos have been pushing into my territory for 2 years. Every month the conflicts get worse. People die. Innocent people caught in crossfire. Store owners who refuse to pay protection. Families who live in the wrong neighborhood. He ran a hand through his hair, destroying the perfect styling. This marriage stops that. Creates an alliance. Or prevents bloodshed. Noble. I picked up my rag again, needing something to do. Does she know about me? There's nothing to know. The words hit like a slap, even though I'd known they were coming, even though we'd never put labels on what we were. Right, nothing. 3 months of late-night conversations, of you showing up here at 3 a.m. when you couldn't sleep because of nightmares you wouldn't talk about, of you telling me things you said you'd never told anyone. Of me stupid enough to think maybe... I stopped myself. Maybe what? Nothing. It doesn't matter. Sierra, did you touch her the way you touched me? The question burst out before I could stop it. Did you kiss her? Did you make her promises you had no intention of keeping? His jaw tightened. I never touched you. I never kissed you. I never crossed that line because I knew if I did, I'd never be able to walk away. And I always knew I'd have to walk away. He was right. He'd never kissed me, never held my hand, never touched me except for those accidental brushes, his fingers grazing mine when he reached for his coffee, his shoulder bumping mine when we sat too close in a booth meant for one. But somehow, that made it worse. Because we'd had something deeper than physical, something that scared me more than any touch could. Then why are you here? I asked, my voice breaking. Why come the night before your wedding to torture yourself? Or is this about torturing me? I came to say goodbye, properly. Goodbye was 3 days ago, Colton. This is just cruelty. I know. I'm sorry. He stepped closer, or close enough that I could smell his cologne mixed with cigarette smoke from whatever meeting he'd just left. I couldn't marry her tomorrow without seeing you one more time, without trying to explain. Explain what? That you're choosing duty over happiness? That you're marrying a woman you don't love to prevent a war? I get it. I do. It's noble and selfless and exactly what a good leader should do. Tears were burning my eyes now, and I hated it. Hated showing weakness. But don't ask me to make it easier for you. Don't ask me to smile and wish you well and pretend my heart isn't breaking. I never wanted to hurt you. Then you shouldn't have kept coming here. Shouldn't have talked to me like I mattered. Shouldn't have looked at me like... I stopped, swallowing hard. Like what? Like maybe I was worth choosing. Like maybe love could be enough, even in your world. Silence fell between us, heavy and suffocating. You are worth choosing, Colton said finally, his voice rough. And love should be enough. In a better world, in a different life, I'd choose you without hesitation. I'd walk away from all of this, the business, the obligations, the family expectations. I'd choose the late-night conversations and terrible coffee and watching you smile when you thought I wasn't looking. But this isn't a better world or a different life. No, it's this world, this life, where my choices affect hundreds of people, where refusing this marriage means war and innocent people dying, where personal happiness is a luxury I can't afford. I wiped my eyes angrily. Then go, marry her, be the leader your people need. Just don't expect me to watch. I don't expect anything from you. I never did. He pulled something from his pocket, an envelope. This is for you. Don't open it until after the wedding tomorrow. Colton, please just take it. I took the envelope with shaking hands, feeling the weight of whatever was inside. I should go, he said, but he didn't move. Just stood there looking at me like he was trying to memorize my face, like he was storing away this moment for all the lonely nights ahead. Yeah, you should. Sierra, I need you to know, despite everything, despite knowing it's wrong and impossible and will only cause more pain, I love you. I've loved you since the first night I walked in here at 3 a.m., ready to tear the world apart, and you told me my coffee order was terrible for my health. Since you made me laugh for the first time in years, since you looked at me like I was human instead of a monster. The words I'd been waiting 3 months to hear. The confession I'd dreamed about, coming 12 hours before he married someone else. Don't, I whispered. Please don't say that now. It's the truth. And tomorrow, when I'm standing at that altar making promises to someone else, I'll be thinking about you, wishing things were different, hating myself for not being brave enough to choose differently. If you love me, don't marry her. If I don't marry her, people die. Her father has given me an ultimatum, this alliance or war. And war in our world means drive-by shootings in residential neighborhoods, bombs in restaurants, innocents caught in crossfire. His hands clenched into fists. I can't have that blood on my hands. Not when I can prevent it. So you're sacrificing yourself. I'm sacrificing us. And I'll regret it every day for the rest of my life. That's supposed to make me feel better? No. Nothing about this is supposed to make anyone feel better. It's the choice I have to make. He reached out like he was going to touch my face, then stopped himself, dropped his hand. I should go. Yeah, you should. But he didn't move. And neither did I. We stood there in that cheap diner, two people from completely different worlds who'd somehow found each other and now had to let go. Come with me, he said suddenly, urgently. Tonight. Right now. We'll leave. Go somewhere they can't find us. Mexico. Canada. Somewhere far away from all of this. We'll change our names. Start over. I have money they don't know about. We could disappear. For one beautiful, terrible moment, I let myself imagine it. Running away with Colton Ryder. leaving behind my mother who depended on my paycheck, my little brother who I was putting through college, abandoning everyone who counted on me to chase a fantasy, living the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, waiting for the day his family found us, waiting for the violence to catch up. And then what? I asked softly. We spend our lives hiding, living in fear, waiting for your enemies or hers to find us and punish us for your broken promise. That's not love, Colton. That's selfishness. Then tell me what to do, because I don't know how to marry her tomorrow knowing you exist, knowing what we could have had. You do what you've always done. You make the hard choice. You protect your people. You become the man you're supposed to be. I walked toward the door, holding it open even though it felt like ripping out my own heart. And you forget about the waitress who was stupid enough to fall for you. I could never forget you, not in 1,000 lifetimes. Try harder, my voice cracked. Please, for both our sakes, try harder. He stood there for a long moment, those grey eyes holding mine like he was drowning and I was the last thing he'd see. Then he walked past me, pausing just long enough to whisper, I'm sorry for all of it, for not being brave enough, for not being the man you deserve. You were, I whispered back. That's what makes this so hard. And then he was gone, disappearing into the night like he'd never been there at all. I locked the door behind him, slid down to the floor, and cried until I couldn't breathe. Rosa found me there 20 minutes later. Didn't say anything, just sat down beside me and held my hand while I fell apart. I wasn't going to go to the wedding. That was the plan. Stay home, maybe watch bad television. Definitely avoid the cathedral where Colton Ryder would promise forever to someone else while I died inside. But plans have a way of shattering when the universe decides you haven't suffered enough. At 9 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Sierra Lawson. A woman's voice. Older, refined, the kind of voice that expected to be obeyed, dangerous in its politeness. Who's asking? My name is Natasha Castellano. You may know me as the mother of the woman marrying Colton Ryder today. A pause. Or you may know me as someone who's been having you followed for the past 2 months. My blood went cold. I don't know what you're talking about. Please, Miss Lawson, don't insult us both with lies. I've had Colton followed since the engagement was announced. I know about every visit to that pathetic little diner, every late-night conversation, every longing look exchanged over bad coffee and worse pie. I know he's in love with you, and I know you're the reason he's been so resistant to this marriage. Then maybe you should ask yourself why you're forcing him into it. Because unlike you, I understand what's at stake. This marriage prevents a war that's been brewing for 2 years, secures peace between 2 of the largest criminal organizations in 3 states, protects hundreds of lives and billions in revenue. Her voice hardened like steel. And you, little waitress, are threatening all of that with your doe eyes and your simple charm. I'm not threatening anything. He made his choice. The wedding is happening. I'm staying far away from it. Are you? Or are you planning some dramatic gesture? Some last-minute confession of love that ruins everything? She laughed, the sound bitter and knowing. Don't bother lying. I saw the envelope he gave you last night. I'm sure it contains some heartfelt explanation. Some noble speech about duty and sacrifice. I looked at the unopened envelope on my nightstand. How do you... I have cameras everywhere, Miss Lawson. Everywhere that matters. I saw him leave here at midnight looking like a man going to his own execution. I saw you collapse after he left. I saw everything, a pause, which is why I'm calling. I want you at the wedding. The words didn't make sense. Excuse me? The ceremony is at 2 p.m. I want you there, in the audience, where Colton can see you, where he has to look at what he's giving up while he says his vows to my daughter. You're insane. I'm practical. Right now, Colton thinks he's making a noble sacrifice. He thinks he's the tragic hero giving up love for duty. He'll spend the rest of his life romanticizing what he lost, looking at my daughter and wishing she was you. Her voice dropped, venomous. If you're there, he'll have to choose in front of everyone. He'll have to look you in the eye and choose my daughter anyway. And when he does, when he makes that choice with you standing right there, he'll never be able to romanticize it. It'll be real, final. He'll have to live with that choice instead of fantasizing about the road not taken. Why would I put myself through that? Because if you don't, I'll destroy you. Your mother who works at the nursing home, she'll lose her job. Those complaints about medication errors that are completely fabricated, they'll become very real. Your brother at State College on scholarship. That scholarship will disappear, and he'll be investigated for academic dishonesty he didn't commit. Your life, everything you've built, everyone you care about, it all goes away. She paused. Or you can show up, watch him marry my daughter, and walk away with your dignity and your family intact. Your choice. My hands were shaking. You can't do that. Can't I? Miss Lawson, I've been making people disappear for 30 years. Ruining lives is significantly easier. Or ask yourself, is your pride worth your mother's career? Your brother's future? The cathedral. 2 p.m. front row on the right side. I've reserved you a seat. The line went dead. I sat there for a long moment staring at my phone, trying to process what had just happened. Then I opened the envelope Colton had given me. Inside was a letter. His handwriting. Neat. Precise. Every word probably agonized over. Sierra, by the time you read this, I'll be married to someone else. I'll have made my choice and you'll hate me for it. You should hate me. I hate myself. But I need you to know, loving you was the realest thing I've ever felt. In a life full of lies and violence and moral compromises, you were truth. You were light. You were everything good that I'll never deserve. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to choose you. Or sorry I'm letting fear and obligation dictate my future. Sorry I'm taking the coward's way out. You deserve someone better. Someone brave. Someone who would burn the world down for you instead of sacrificing you to save it. I hope you find that person. I hope you find happiness. I hope someday you can forgive me, even though I'll never forgive myself. I love you. I'll love you until my last breath. And I'm so sorry that wasn't enough. Always C. I read it 3 times. Then I made my decision. The cathedral was magnificent. Gothic architecture, stained glass windows depicting saints and sinners, soaring ceilings that made you feel small and insignificant, flowers everywhere, thousands of white roses and orchids that filled the air with perfume so thick it was almost choking, or string quartet playing Pachelbel's canon in a minor key that sounded more like a dirge than a celebration. I stood in the massive doorway in my waitress uniform, the same one from last night's shift because I hadn't gone home to change, hadn't wanted to dress up for this nightmare. The black dress, white apron and sensible shoes that marked me as exactly what I was, someone who didn't belong in this world. A woman approached, mid-50s, perfectly styled grey hair, designer suit that probably cost more than my car. Natasha Castellano. I recognized her from photos. You came. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Good girl. Front row, right side. You have a reserved seat next to Councilman Morrison and his wife. Don't speak to them. Don't speak to anyone. Just sit there and let Colton see what he's giving up. This is sick. This is necessary. My daughter deserves a husband who's fully committed. not one who'll spend his life pining for something he can't have. She gestured toward the aisle. Now go. The ceremony starts in 10 minutes. I should have left. Should have walked out those massive doors, driven away and never looked back. Let her make good on her threats. Face the consequences. But I thought about my mother. 63 years old, working double shifts at the nursing home to make ends meet. One complaint away from losing everything. I thought about my brother, 20 years old, first person in our family to go to college, one semester away from losing his scholarship. So I walked down that aisle feeling every eye on me, hearing the whispers that followed like poisons spreading through the congregation. Who is she? Is that a waitress uniform? What is she doing here? Did someone invite the help? The front row was filled with important people, men in expensive suits who I recognized from news reports about organized crime, women dripping in diamonds who knew exactly where their wealth came from and didn't care. I sat at the end, as far from everyone as possible, and tried to make myself invisible. It didn't work. I felt their stares, their judgment, their confusion about why someone like me was sitting in a seat reserved for the elite. Then the music changed. Everyone stood. Colton appeared from a side door, flanked by groomsmen who looked more like bodyguards. He was scanning the crowd, probably wondering if I'd actually shown up. And then his eyes found mine, and I watched him freeze mid-step, watched the colour drain from his face, watched his carefully maintained composure crack just enough that anyone paying attention would see it. Our eyes held across the cathedral, and I saw everything I needed to see. This was killing him, every bit as much as it was killing me. Maybe more. But he was going to do it anyway. The music shifted to the wedding march. Everyone stood. The bride appeared at the back of the cathedral, a vision in white and lace. Beautiful, elegant, perfect in every way that mattered to these people. Victoria Castellano walked down the aisle on her father's arm, smiling at guests, nodding graciously to important people, playing the role of beautiful bride to perfection. And I realized something in that moment, watching her approach the altar with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She didn't love him. This was a victory for her, a conquest. She was marrying Colton Ryder to gain power, to strengthen her family's position, to secure her own future. Love had nothing to do with it, while I was sitting here dying inside for a man who loved me, but was choosing duty over his heart. The ceremony began. Words about love and commitment and forever. Words that should have been ours, not theirs. Words that felt like knives with every syllable. The priest droned on about marriage and sanctity and joining two families in holy matrimony, about duty and responsibility and honouring commitments. I tried to tune it out, tried to think about anything else, my shift tomorrow, the bills I needed to pay, what I'd have for dinner, anything except the man I loved promising his life to someone else. If anyone objects to this union, the priest intoned, his voice echoing in the cavernous space, speak now or forever hold your peace. Silence. This was the moment in movies where someone objected, where true love conquered all, where the hero stopped the wedding and rode off into the sunset with their soulmate. But this wasn't a movie. This was real life. And in real life, the good girl kept quiet, protected her family, let the man she loved marry someone else because it was the smart thing to do, the safe thing, the right thing. I stood up. Every head turned. Colton's eyes went wide with shock. The bride's face twisted with fury. Natasha Castellano smiled. That shark smile that said this was exactly what she'd wanted. Me making a scene, humiliating myself, proving I was wrong for him. But I didn't care anymore. about the consequences, about the threats, about anything except the truth. "I object," I said, my voice carrying through the cathedral with a strength I didn't know I possessed. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers exploded like fireworks. "Who are you?" the priest asked, clearly thrown off his script. "I'm nobody." I stepped into the aisle, forcing my legs to move even though they were shaking. "I'm a waitress at a diner on the east side. I work double shifts to help my mum pay bills because healthcare is expensive and retirement doesn't exist for people like us. I have student loans I'll probably never pay off and a car that breaks down twice a month. I'm completely, utterly, ridiculously wrong for him in every way that matters to people like you." I started walking toward the altar, each step feeling like walking through fire. But I love him. I love him enough to sit here and watch him marry someone else, if that's what keeps him safe. Love him enough to destroy my own heart to protect his future. Love him enough to stay silent when every cell in my body is screaming to tell the truth. I stopped halfway down the aisle, my eyes locked on Colton's. But I can't watch him make this mistake without saying something, without at least giving him the choice. "Sierra, don't." Colton's voice was rough, broken, pleading. "This marriage isn't about love," I continued, addressing the crowd now. "It's about power and politics and preventing violence. And maybe that's enough for everyone else in this room. Maybe that's how your world works. Marriages as business deals, love as a luxury you can't afford." I looked at the bride, but he deserves better. He deserves someone who looks at him the way I do, who loves him not for what he can give them, but for who he is. Who sees the man behind the monster and chooses him anyway. "You know nothing about our world," Victoria said, her voice cold as ice. "Nothing about the stakes, nothing about what this marriage means." "You're right. I don't. But I know him. I know he takes his coffee black with one sugar because any more makes him feel like he's losing control. That he reads Nietzsche when he can't sleep because the philosophy makes his own problems seem smaller. That he has nightmares about everyone he's lost and carries guilt that isn't his to carry. I know he's trying to save everyone except himself." I turned back to Colton, my voice softening. "I know you think this is the only way. That marrying her prevents a war and protects innocent people. And maybe you're right. Maybe I'm being selfish and naive and completely out of line." Tears were streaming down my face now, and I didn't bother wiping them away. "But I can't let you do this without knowing that I love you, that I'll always love you, that walking away from you is the hardest thing I've ever done. And watching you marry someone else might actually kill me." "This is ridiculous," Victoria snapped. "Security, remove her immediately." Men in suits started moving toward me from various positions around the cathedral. "Wait!" Colton's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Everyone stop. Now." The security stopped moving. The priest stepped back. The entire cathedral held its breath. Colton stepped down from the altar, walking toward me like we were the only two people in the world. Like none of this mattered except us. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly when he reached me. "I know. This is insane, reckless, completely inappropriate." "I know that too. You're going to get yourself killed. Her family won't forgive this. Probably." I smiled through the tears, but I'd rather die telling you the truth than live with the lie that I could watch you marry her. I don't have a choice in this, Sierra. The war, everyone has a choice, Colton. You just have to be brave enough to make it, brave enough to believe that maybe, just maybe, love is worth fighting for. He stared at me for a long moment, with those grey eyes searching my face like he was looking for answers I didn't have. Then he turned to face the gathered crowd, to face his bride, to face the future everyone had planned for him. "She's right," he said, his voice carrying through the cathedral with absolute authority. This marriage is about politics, about preventing war, about doing what's expected instead of what's right. He looked at Victoria. I'm sorry. You deserve someone who loves you. Someone who'll build a life with you because they want to, not because they have to. I can't be that person. I'll never be that person. Victoria's face went pale with rage. You're throwing away everything for a waitress, for someone who can't offer you anything? I'm choosing love over duty, heart over strategy. The woman who makes me want to be better over the marriage that makes me bitter. He turned back to me. Maybe that makes me weak. Maybe it makes me a fool. Maybe I'll regret this every day for the rest of my life. He took my hands in his. But I'd rather be a fool with you than a king without you. Chaos erupted. Victoria's father was on his feet shouting threats, security moving forward, guests screaming, the carefully orchestrated alliance shattering like crystal hitting concrete. Natasha Castellano stood slowly, her face a mask of fury. You're declaring war. No, Colton said calmly. I'm choosing a different path to peace. One that doesn't involve forcing two people who don't love each other into a lifetime of misery. Your family wants territory? I'll give you territory. You want business concessions? We'll negotiate. But I won't marry your daughter. Not today. Not ever. You'll regret this. Maybe, but I won't regret choosing her. He grabbed my hand. Run. We ran. Through the cathedral past shocked guests and furious family members, out into the afternoon sun. His car was waiting, a black sedan that screamed getaway vehicle. Get in, he ordered, and I didn't argue. We peeled out of the parking lot as security poured out of the cathedral behind us. Where are we going? I asked, as he took corners at speeds that would definitely get us pulled over if any cops were brave enough to stop Colton Ryder. Anywhere but here. For now. I have a safe house 2 hours north. We can stay there while I figure out how to keep us both alive. They'll come after us. Probably. People might die because of this. Oh, the war you were trying to prevent. I'll do everything I can to prevent that. I have resources, allies, money. I can negotiate a peace that doesn't involve me sacrificing my happiness. He glanced at me. I should have done this 3 months ago. The first time you told me I was drinking too much coffee and not enough water. Why didn't you? Fear. Cowardice. The belief that I didn't deserve happiness because of who I am and what I've done. And now? Now I'm done sacrificing my future for other people's comfort. I'm done being who everyone else needs me to be instead of who I want to be. He reached for my hand. I'm done living without you. We drove for 3 hours before stopping at a motel off the highway. Cheap. Anonymous. The kind of place that didn't ask questions as long as you paid in cash. Colton got us a room while I waited in the car, trying to process everything that had just happened. I'd crashed a wedding. Declared my love in front of 200 people, run away with a crime boss who'd just destroyed a political alliance that had taken months to arrange. This was either the bravest or stupidest thing I'd ever done. Probably both. Come on, Colton said, opening my door. Let's get inside. The room was exactly what you'd expect from a highway motel. 2 beds, questionable carpet, television from the 90s. But it was private and safe, and right now that was all that mattered. What happens now? I asked as we sat on the edge of one bed, both still in our wedding attire. Him in his tuxedo, me in my waitress uniform. Now I make some calls, try to minimize the damage, see if I can negotiate a peace that doesn't involve my marriage. He pulled out his phone, then stopped. But first, I need to know, do you regret it? Coming to the cathedral, stopping the wedding. Do you? Not even a little. But my life has always been complicated, dangerous. I'm used to making choices that have consequences. You're not. Your life was normal and safe until I walked into it and destroyed everything. You didn't destroy anything. You showed me what I was missing, what I was settling for. I took his hand. I was existing, Colton, working double shifts and paying bills and watching life happen to other people. You made me feel alive, made me brave, made me believe that maybe I deserved more than just survival. You deserve everything, the whole world. Someone who can give you safety and stability and a life that doesn't involve running from angry mobsters. I don't want safety if it means living without you. I don't want stability if it's built on pretending my heart isn't breaking. I want messy and dangerous and complicated if it means I get to be with you. He pulled me close, burying his face in my hair. I love you. God, I love you so much it terrifies me. Then we face the terror together. Together, he agreed, for however long we have. The war didn't come, not immediately anyway. 3 days of tense negotiations, phone calls in hushed voices while I tried not to listen. Colton pacing the motel room like a caged animal, working every connection he had to prevent the bloodshed everyone predicted. And somehow, miraculously, he did it. And the Castellanos agreed to peace in exchange for territory, profitable neighborhoods Colton controlled in the south part of the city. Business concessions, partnerships that gave them legitimate revenue streams without the marriage alliance. It wasn't perfect. Both sides lost something. But nobody died. And we survived. How did you do it? I asked when he finally emerged from his last negotiation call, looking exhausted but relieved. I gave them what they actually wanted. Power, money, influence. The marriage was just one path to those things. I offered them a better path. He collapsed onto the bed beside me. It helps that my organization is stronger than they realized, that refusing the marriage wasn't weakness, it was strength. It showed I wouldn't be controlled by threats or obligations. And Victoria? Furious, but she'll survive. Honestly, I think she's more angry about the public embarrassment than the lost marriage. She didn't love me any more than I loved her. And her mother? Natasha is complicated. She orchestrated getting you to the wedding thinking it would force my hand. Instead, it gave me the push I needed to be honest about what I wanted. He turned to look at me. In a twisted way, I'm grateful to her. If she hadn't called you, if you hadn't shown up, I might have gone through with it. Spent the rest of my life wondering what if. So what happens now? Now? He pulled me against him. Now we figure out how to build a life together. It won't be easy. My world is still dangerous. People will still come after me, after us. But we'll face it together. Together, I agreed. I like the sound of that. Any regrets yet? I thought about my old life. In the simple routine, the predictable shifts at the diner, the safety of knowing exactly what each day would bring. Then I thought about what I had now. Adventure, danger, love that burned so bright it was terrifying, a future that was uncertain but filled with possibility. Not a single one. 6 months later, we stood in a different cathedral. No politicians, no business leaders, no alliances or mergers or carefully orchestrated peace treaties. Just family and friends who actually cared about us, who wanted us to be happy instead of useful. Rosa from the diner was there crying into a tissue she'd brought specifically for this purpose. My mother, healthy and proud. My brother, grateful that his scholarship had stayed intact. Colton's closest friends, the ones who'd supported this insanity from the beginning. Ready? Colton asked as we prepared to walk down the aisle together. No traditional separation, no giving away, just us, choosing each other. I crashed your last wedding. Figured I should probably attend this one properly dressed. I was wearing a simple white dress, nothing like the elaborate gown Victoria had worn. but it was mine, and I felt beautiful in it. He laughed. You didn't crash it. You saved me. We saved each other. Truth. The ceremony was simple. The vows were ours. No script, no formality, just truth spoken out loud. I promise to love you even when it's dangerous, I said. To stand beside you even when the world says I should run. To choose you every single day for the rest of my life, no matter what that life brings. I promise to protect you without controlling you, Colton said. To love you without changing you. To be worthy of the courage it took for you to walk into that cathedral and tell the truth. To spend every day proving that choosing you was the best decision I ever made. We kissed as husband and wife, surrounded by people who actually wanted us to succeed instead of using us as pawns in their power games. And as we walked back down the aisle together, hand in hand, I caught Rosa's eye. She was grinning, mascara running down her face. I told you he'd come to his senses, she called out. Took him long enough, I called back. Colton squeezed my hand. Best decision I ever made. Interrupting your own wedding? No. Walking into a diner at 3 a.m. 3 months ago and meeting a waitress who would change my life. You mean the waitress who pulled you out of your wedding? That too. He smiled. Although technically you walked in. I just had the sense to run with you. Semantics. Important semantics. Life with Colton Ryder wasn't easy. There were still threats, still enemies who thought we'd been too lucky and needed to be taught a lesson. Still moments when I wondered if loving him was the bravest or stupidest thing I'd ever done. But there were also mornings waking up beside him. Late-night conversations that stretched until dawn, not in a diner but in our own bed. Laughter and joy and a love that was worth every risk, every complication, every moment of fear. Any regrets yet? He asked one night as we sat on the balcony of the penthouse he'd bought us. Our home now, not his fortress. I thought about the girl I'd been 6 months ago, the one who'd played it safe, who'd never taken risks, who'd been content with a quiet life that never challenged her. Then I thought about the woman I'd become, the one who'd crashed a wedding, who'd chosen love over fear, who'd built something extraordinary with a man everyone said was wrong for her. Not a single one, I said. You? Only that I almost married the wrong woman. Lucky for you, a waitress intervened. Luckiest day of my life. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the city that had tried to keep us apart, but we'd fought for each other, chosen each other, built something real out of chaos and impossibility and a love that shouldn't have worked but did. And we'd do it again, every single time. They say love conquers all. In Colton's world, in our world, that's mostly a lie. Love gets people killed, makes them weak, vulnerable, exploitable. But sometimes, rarely, but miraculously, love is stronger than fear, stronger than duty, stronger than the rules that say a crime boss and a waitress could never work. We proved them all wrong, not by being perfect, not by avoiding the danger or the complications or the 1,000 reasons this shouldn't work, but by choosing each other anyway. Every single day. Forever. Because some love stories don't follow the rules. Some love stories require crashing weddings and making impossible choices and being brave enough to believe that maybe, just maybe, the heart knows better than the head. Ours was one of those stories, and I wouldn't change a single moment of it. Not even the terrifying part where I walked into that cathedral in my waitress uniform and stopped a wedding in front of 200 very important, very dangerous people. Especially not that part. Because that was the moment everything changed. The moment I stopped being afraid of living and started being afraid of not living, the moment I chose love. And love, dangerous and complicated and absolutely insane as it was, chose me back.